Bloody Blair.
Literally, I was like, whoa, that is crazy.
Yeah, volume slowly goes up.
I was so wrong. It sounded awful.
Yeah, didn't know what that was. Still don't.
You'll get there.
Bit of a bad case of floppy mic before I started today. And that's not a euphemism. It's just rigging this thing up when you haven't done a podcast in over a year and a half is an interesting challenge. Well, hello. Welcome to episode 1 of the Not in the Background podcast. If anyone listens to mine and my friend Gavin's old podcast, it was called the Clutch Down podcast, and it was all about the NFL. This is a slightly different direction, where we'll be talking all about music. Now, we're going to be doing most of the episodes together, but we're also going to be doing episodes by ourselves as a little more, to get some more content and bits out there. Sometimes we'll have a discussion about, best albums of all time, our favorite albums, our Desert Island albums and all that. And then sometimes it'll just be one of us talking about a new artist, an old artist, someone we've just discovered, someone we've rediscovered after years of not listening to them, a guilty pleasure or so on. Basically, whatever comes to mind in that week that we want to talk about. What I want to talk about first of all, this week is the band President. So President are a band that was formed last year in 2025. They are on the trend of masked bands along the kind of Sleep Token route, where the lead singer is called the President and their live events, their live concerts are called inaugurations. They basically just appeared on the download bill last year with the name President, and no one had ever heard of them before. And then people went and saw them and they were like, hold on a minute, this band's great. Their sound is along the lines of Sleep Token. I'd say they're not quite as electronic as they are, but they've got the heaviness. They've got, the processed vocals with an effect over the top. Up until their latest single actually, which is the one that I want to talk about because that came out last week and it's called Angel Wings. But in that, you get to hear the voice of the president, so to speak, in a much clearer way, and you still have the same president sound behind. They're quite drum focused, which is fun. That's one of the things I like myself. Like, I'm a fan of Sleep Token. And one of the things I like about Sleep Token, I think a lot of people do, is the drumming and how the drumming carries the song through. Sometimes, I know I find that some drumming can feel a bit repetitive. I like a lot of glam rock. A lot of glam rock feels like it's the same drums, just rinse and repeat over and over again. And that's not a bash. That's just is what it is. And I like that. And I like that in a genre. A lot of dance music, a lot of techno music is the same kind of BPM and the same drum loops and sounds that it feels like. So I really enjoy it when a band does something different. Idols is an example of that. My girlfriend absolutely loves Idols because Idols are very drum-led and quite different with how they approach the drumming. And I feel like Sleep Token are the same. And I feel like President's one of these bands as well. That you listen to and you get the core of what they're trying to do, and it feels a bit unique and it feels a bit different. I compare it to Sleep Token because that's, I'd say, the most comparable band to compare President to, but I wouldn't say that it's because they're a carbon copy. It's just they're similar in vibe, and they have the same management, so go figure. But yeah, I would check them out because their new single Angel Wings came out last week. Has a nice, fun kind of, I say fun, it's quite a dark song and the video is quite dark, but for me, I use the word fun loosely, more so as a interesting, cool type thing. And the intro has this interesting kind of techno sound to it before you get into the main content of the song. And you have a fun, quite cool chorus. I'm going to try and stop using the word fun. You have a very interesting chorus. You have a bridge. You have screaming, the screamo-ness of it. One of the things I like about President actually is the fact that the screamo that they include, for me, sometimes screamo can be quite intense and a bit too much. And one of the things I like about this band is the fact that the screams are kind of used as their own sort of instrument, like a guitar lick or something like that. that carries the song along and works for the theme of whatever's going on. And I think that how President used screaming in their songs, one, it shows off the vocalist. There's lots of theories about who the vocalist is. It seems a lot more obvious based off the most recent song, but to me, that's not important. I just think that the singer is a great vocalist, and the screaming is kind of its own instrument within their music, and especially within Angel Wings. It's also one of their, I'd say, slightly slower songs. You've got Dionysus, one of the songs off of their EP, because currently they've got an EP which is called The King of Terrors that came out last year. And check out Destroy Me off of that, because it's an incredible song and my favorite off of that. And the music video is really cool. I think they've got a really cool visual style to them, and that carries over into their music, and just holistically are a very unique project to listen to, and something that when it came across my radar, I was like, I'll give this a go, and then went from there and absolutely love them. I was actually listening to them a ton when I was working in London for a period last year, and I just had them on repeat in my car. I was driving to all different places over and got to know their songs quite well. So I know the EP King of Terrors quite well, but then also their new song Angel Wings, have just started listening to that and diving into that. But the reason I mentioned about the chorus as well is because a lot of their songs, their structure isn't just, verse, chorus, and so on. It's sometimes a bit all over the place, which I enjoy myself. I like a lot of I like Pink Floyd, and Pink Floyd, when it comes to structure, sometimes you'll get a relatively normal song, and then the majority of the time it could be 10 minutes of just pure chaos where there's, a recording of a dog singing into a mic, and that is one of the samples within it. So I'm quite used to slightly non-structured music, and I find that quite fun. There's another song and another band I'm going to talk about on the next episode who also brought out a recent single, which is incredible and bizarre and sounds like 80 songs put into one song, but it also just works. And I see certain influences with bands that, like with President, that you can feel the influences and you can feel the different parts and things that they're trying to do. And it just works. Some bands just get it. Some bands just get the look, and it just works. So yeah, this episode is a very short one because just getting into it, just wanted to, sometimes I hear new music and I just want to talk about new music, and I wanted to bring to everyone's attention the sound of President, because President's awesome. And if you're a rock lover, I'd check them out, just because you'll get the guitar riffs, you'll get the drums, you'll get the heaviness, you'll get the screaming, you'll get all of that as a combination. And if you're a music lover, I'd check them out just as kind of a unique project. So yeah, I'd give them a go. A band that just came to mind, and I'm going to Google this whilst I'm talking, and this will be the final part. That's it. Attack is a band from years ago. I haven't listened to these in absolute years, but there's elements of them within President. I was never really a massive fan of them. It took me a while to get into the techno rock combination sound, and then I discovered Enter Shikari, and then suddenly fell in love with Enter Shikari, and that was it. Techno and rock, then combining them for me really, really worked. So yeah, there's elements of Sleep Token, there's elements of Attack. There's elements of different bands in there, but there's still enough uniqueness of them as a band that I highly recommend checking them out. So yeah, it looks like they're probably going to have a new album soon. They've got a gig in April at O2 Forum in Kentish Town, which is I believe it's O2 Forum, but that's an awesome venue. The actual acoustics there are brilliant. They're one of my favorite. I've been to a lot of gigs there, and I'm always really impressed and blown away by the acoustics there. So you might find a hard time getting tickets. Right now, I'm on the, not the wait list because that's a Dice thing, but I've got alerts set up on Twicket. So every time a President ticket comes up, I'm trying to get it, and it's a challenge, but I've still got 2 months and I hold out hope. I'm a very optimistic person. But yeah, so I'd start with Destroy Me, and then listen to the new single Angel Wings. That gives you a flavor of them, and it looks like a new album will be coming soon. If you want to get the EP on vinyl, it's a bit difficult at the moment. I think there's a back order, which shows the popularity of them. However, you could find the music videos on YouTube and check it out on YouTube. and I have no doubts that you will enjoy them. So give them a go. And yeah, let me know in the comments on YouTube. I'll put up reels on Instagram of the different parts of this episode. Let me know in those reels what you think about them, because I am interested and looking forward to hear what you say. This was the Not in the Background podcast, episode 1, and I will see you next week for the next episode.